Hello there, violins, and welcome to the Symphonic Audition Set 3. This features a 3-octave G major scale, as almost all of these auditions do. It's just your lowest string, 3 octaves. That shows us that you can get up into 3rd position and then also up into 5th position accurately. It has a 2-octave D melodic minor scale. The tricky thing about that one is that the notes actually change. You'll see that there's 1 flat in the key signature, but you do get that flat naturalized. On the way up, you have a C sharp, which gives us T do, so you have a nice half step. You do get a shift as well, the F natural stays, but then coming down, that C sharp goes to C natural, that B natural goes to B flat, so those notes lower themselves on the way back down, which is typical for any melodic minor scale. There's music theory behind it, but just go with it. Just go by the notes on the page, don't forget those natural stay, and you're good to go. Then we get to the excerpts, and this is very standard fare excerpts, something fast and technical, something slow and lyrical, give you a chance to show off all the things that you can do. So we'll spend just a moment on the Hoe-Down. You'll notice your first 3 notes are grace notes, so they are fast notes. Oftentimes they turn into like triplets because we have a triplet figure immediately after the first main note. But really those grace notes are just a quick little zoom, a little bit energetic. Make sure that we start in 3rd position, 1 for the A, 2 for the B, low 3 C natural, and then the 4th finger D. And that's important because you see that we do have a C sharp coming up in that first measure. So make sure we hear a difference between the C natural and the C sharp that's about to happen. So slow motion, there he goes, your first introduction to that very first note. And then you have an E flat. So what I would do is I would take my 4th finger, the D, move it up just a half step. It's just a little stretch, actually just like the very top of the G major scale. We move our pinky up by a half step. That's what you're doing here. Move it up by a half step. And then sort of smash your 2nd and 3rd fingers together. So you would have all 3 of those notes right next to each other. All is half steps. That's called chromaticism, or a chromatic line when you have every note next to each other. So E flat, D, C sharp, D. Ba-da-da-dum. So that gives us our little opening figure. And then jump back into 1st position. And that works out well because you have an open string. There is a double stop, so you're playing D natural and F sharp. Little lift. And repeat. And then you have options, right? Starting at measure 19, you can stay in 1st position, which is, I think, a little bit more fiddle-esque. You have the string crossings. And now we keep fingers down. Right, you don't even need to lift your 3rd finger at all starting at 19. Just keep your 3rd finger down. Like whatever the notes are, just practice that. Right? The other option is you could go into 3rd position, which is a little bit more classically trained, I guess you would say. Keep it a lot more on the A string. And then a pretty big stretch, or 1 string crossing just over to the E string. Either one works as long as it's in tune. I don't know if anyone's really going to care. If your director says otherwise, though, go by their discretion. They know what they're looking for and they want to see. But either way works, with the string crossing or keeping it in 3rd position. Both are equally impressive. If you're doing the string crossings, there's not much shoulder action. A lot of it is elbow and wrist. Right, so that's just a way to practice, is just open strings. So the impressive thing there is getting a clean string crossing. The impressive thing here is the shift and keeping it all in 1 string. So you'll look cool and be impressive either way. So whichever one's in tune, go with that one. The last thing on the page here is Girl with the Flaxen Hair. That's our lyrical one. It says the quarter note equals 66. I would not take it any faster than 66. Yeah, it's quite a slow piece. So I actually would go a little bit slower, in fact, a lot slower. The recording I made was at the quarter note equals 50, so it is considerably slower. But either way, the idea here is that we are being lyrical. This is a chance to show off your vibrato on the long notes. Probably a nice relaxed vibrato. If you have a fast vibrato, that's good because you have vibrato. But if you can slow it down, I think that matches the vibe of this a little bit more. We don't want a really fast vibrato on a really slow song. So with this piece, yeah, vibrato, lyrical, lyricism, being lyrical. Pardon the lights. But I think there, the lyricism, the slow, the pretty, that's what we're going for. Starting in measure 33, you'll notice that I actually shifted. And that's just to keep it all on one string, to keep a nice even tone. You could do it without. Either one works. The only part where we definitely have to shift is going from 34 into 35. And there are a few spots that you could shift. You could start right away. You could wait until beat 3 of 34. Or on the D, or the last note. You could wait until the very end. Any of those work. Sometimes, as you heard, having a little bit of a portamento or a glissando or a slide sometimes has an emotional quality to it, which is quite nice for interpretation. However, if it's too slurpy sounding, then that's a little bit too much over the top, so it has to be tasteful, and you can't do it all the time, right? You have to pick and choose your moments and do it tastefully, if you do it that way. If you want to keep it totally clean, you can totally do that too. But rhythmically, this one is a challenge with all the ties and the bowings, right? So the way I would probably practice this, I would start slowly with no ties and no slurs whatsoever. Practice it slowly like that. Well, it's all slow, right? So practice it without the ties, without the slurs. That way you know what it sounds like, where the notes fit into that rhythm and where they fit into that melody. And then when you add the ties and the slurs back in, you now know that very firm rhythmic bass. So that way everything can be very, very smooth, legato, and in time. So I hope that all helps. Slow practice. Feel free to ask questions of your director. I'm sure they'd love to help you. We want to see you succeed and want all of us to sound good. So the more you ask, the better you get, the better we sound. So happy practicing, and we'll see you in symphonic orchestra.